The car's headlights cut through the rain like knives. Thandi didn't see it coming, didn't hear the engine rev over the sound of her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. 1 second she was crossing the street outside Songdo Medical Center, the next she was diving sideways, her body hitting the wet pavement hard as the black sedan screamed past, close enough that she felt the heat from its engine against her face. "Hey," she gasped, scrambling to her feet. Her scrubs were soaked, her palms scraped raw. The car's taillights disappeared into Incheon's neon-soaked night, and Thandi stood there shaking, rain streaming down her face, wondering if she'd just imagined the whole thing. But the screech of tires still echoed in her ears, and her hands wouldn't stop trembling. This wasn't an accident. This was a warning. 3 weeks ago, Thandi Mthembu had been just another foreign nurse trying to survive in Korea, sending money home to Durban every month and counting down the days until her visa expired. 3 weeks ago, she'd been invisible. Safe. Now she was standing in the rain outside a hospital in Incheon, having just been nearly killed, and she knew exactly whose world she'd stumbled into. It started with the old woman. Mrs. Han Sukja had collapsed right here, in this exact spot, on a night just like this one. Thandi had been finishing her shift when she heard the commotion, security guards standing around uselessly, a taxi driver yelling in Korean, and an elderly woman convulsing on the ground. No one was helping. They were just watching. "Yo, what's wrong with you people?" Thandi had shouted, dropping to her knees beside the woman. Mrs. Han's lips were blue, her eyes rolling back. Cardiac arrest. Thandi's hands moved on instinct, chest compressions, counting in Zulu under her breath. Defibrillator. Manj, she'd screamed at the guards. Now. They'd brought it eventually, but by then Thandi was soaked from the rain and her arms were burning from compressions. She'd shocked Mrs. Han once, twice, 3 times. On the 3rd shock, the old woman's eyes had fluttered open, and Thandi had felt something she hadn't felt in months, pure, uncomplicated relief. "Njayabanga," Thandi had whispered. Thank God. That should have been the end of it. A good deed, a life saved, another shift completed. But then the blood work came back. Bombay blood phenotype, Dr. Kim had said, his face pale. The hospital doesn't have it in stock. Nearest supply is in Seoul, 90 minutes away. Thandi had frozen. She knew that blood type. Her mother had it. She had it. It was why she'd had to carry special documentation everywhere she went, why blood donations were always complicated. 1 in every 10,000 people. Rare didn't even cover it. How long does she have? Thandi had asked. Internal bleeding. Maybe 30 minutes. Maybe less. Thandi had rolled up her sleeve before Dr. Kim could finish explaining the risks. Take mine. That was when everything changed. That was when she became visible. That was when she stopped being just another foreign nurse and became something else, something connected, something valuable, something dangerous. Mrs. Han recovered over the next 3 days, and Thandi found herself spending more and more time in the old woman's room. Mrs. Han had a way of making Thandi feel less alone, less like an outsider. She taught Thandi how to fold dumplings properly, how to pronounce certain Korean words that always tripped her up. In return, Thandi taught her Zulu phrases. Njayabonga Kakalu, Mrs. Han would say carefully, her accent making Thandi smile. Thank you very much. Sabobona, Gogo, Thandi would reply. Hello, grandmother. On the 3rd day, Mrs. Han had asked about Thandi's family. My mama is in Durban, Thandi had said, adjusting the 4-line. She's sick. Needs an operation she can't afford. That's why I'm here. And your visa? Thandi had looked away. 76 days left. Then I have to go home. Mrs. Han had squeezed her hand. Sometimes heaven sends angels when we need them most. That afternoon, he arrived. Thandi had been checking Mrs. Han's vitals when the hospital went quiet, that unnatural kind of quiet that meant something was wrong. She'd looked up to see nurses bowing deeply in the hallway, the hospital director himself standing by the elevator looking nervous. Then the elevator doors opened, and Tae-Sung stepped out. Thandi knew power when she saw it. Growing up in Durban, you learned to recognize the Amabharit, the untouchables, the men everyone feared. Tae-Sung wore a sharp black suit and had a scar along his jawline that looked like it had a story. 3 bodyguards flanked him, but he didn't need them. The way he moved, the way everyone else stopped moving when he appeared, that told Thandi everything she needed to know. He'd walked straight into Mrs. Han's room without knocking. Tae-Sung ah. Mrs. Han's face had lit up. You came. Iyama. His voice was cold but softened when he looked at his mother. Then his eyes found Thandi, and the temperature dropped. Who is this? Thandi had met his gaze. Back home, showing fear to men like this was the same as giving them permission to hurt you. This is Nurse Thandi, Mrs. Han had said quickly. She saved my life. Tae-Sung switched to English, his pronunciation perfect. Is that so? Just doing my job, Thandi had replied, keeping her voice steady. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe, that she wasn't cowering. Mrs. Han explained about the Bombay blood, about Thandi donating her own blood, about the all-night vigil. Tae-Sung listened without expression. Thank you for your service, he'd said finally, and the word service felt like an insult wrapped in courtesy. After he left, Mrs. Han had sighed. My son is complicated. I know men like him, Thandi had said quietly. We have them in Durban too. What Thandi didn't know was that complicated meant dangerous. What she didn't know was that saving Mrs. Han's life had just made her a player in a game she didn't understand. The first test came 2 days later. Thandi opened her locker after her shift to find an envelope stuffed with cash. 10 million won. Roughly $7,500. More money than she'd seen in her entire time in Korea. The card inside said simply, with gratitude. HTS. Her roommate Naledi had nearly screamed when she saw it. Thandi. This is it. This is the answer to everything. But Thandi had felt sick looking at it. This isn't a gift, Naledi. It's Umthakathi. Poison. You're crazy. I'm returning it. The hospital director had nearly fainted when Thandi brought him the envelope. Nurse Mthembu, you don't understand who Tae-Sung is. I understand perfectly, Thandi had said. Please return this or donate it. I can't accept it. She'd walked out feeling proud and terrified in equal measure. The second test came 3 days after that. A man approached her on her walk home from the bus stop, casual and friendly. Nurse Mthembu. I work for Mr. Han. Simple favor, hold a package for us. 1 week. 2 million won. He'd shown her a small metal box, locked and anonymous. What's in it? Thandi had asked. Does it matter? Cha, it matters to me. She'd looked him in the eye. I don't do tsotsi business. Tell Mr. Han I'm a nurse, not a criminal. Votsek. The man had watched her walk away, and Thandi had felt his eyes on her back the entire way home. The third test was the job offer. Senior nurse position at Elysian Heights Medical Center, the most prestigious private hospital in Incheon. Triple her current salary, full visa sponsorship, benefits, everything she desperately needed. The email had appeared in her inbox like a miracle. Until she Googled the hospital and saw Han Enterprises Holdings on the board of directors. You're insane. Naledi had yelled when Thandi declined. Your visa expires in 73 days. Your mama needs surgery. When will you stop being so stubborn? When I stop being Mthembu, Thandi had replied. My go-go didn't raise someone who takes handouts from gangsters. But that night, lying awake in their tiny one-room apartment, Thandi had wondered if stubbornness was just another word for stupidity. 3 refusals. 3 chances to solve all her problems. 3 doors she'd slammed shut because of pride. Mrs. Han had called her to the hospital the next evening, looking worried. "Sit with me, Thandi." Thandi had sat, sensing something bad coming. "I need to tell you about my son." Mrs. Han's voice was heavy. "When Tae-Sung was 10 years old, we had a restaurant near the docks. One night, rival gangs came. They killed his father right in front of him. I tried to shield Tae-Sung, but he saw everything. After that, he changed. He became hard. Cold. He built an empire on fear because he never wanted to be that helpless child again." "Go, why are you telling me this?" "Because you refused him 3 times. Mrs. Han's eyes were sad. "Nobody refuses Tae-Sung. You've made yourself interesting to him. And in his world, interesting means dangerous. I just saved your life. And now you're connected to him. His enemies know that. They'll see you as a way to hurt him." Mrs. Han had gripped Thandi's hand. "You're already a target, child." The words had hit Thandi like a punch. What should I do? Accept his help. Or run? Those are your only choices now. That night, the photos started coming. Thandi walking home. Thandi at the bus stop. Thandi entering her building. All taken from across the street, all recent. The final message was simple: stay away from the Han family. This is your only warning. Thandi had reported it to hospital security, but they'd looked at her like she was already dead. When she mentioned Han Tae-Sung's name, the guard had actually flinched. "Maybe take some time off, Miss Mthembu." "Are you serious?" He wouldn't meet her eyes. The next day, a black car had pulled up beside her at the bus stop. Park Do-hyun, one of Tae-Sung's men. "Get in. Mr. Han wants to see you." "And if I refuse?" "Then I follow you home and ask again. And again. Until you stop saying no." Thandi had gotten in the car, muttering in Zulu. "Njizozisala. I'm going to regret this." They'd taken her to a private restaurant overlooking Incheon harbor. The entire place was empty except for Han Tae-Sung, sitting at a low table with the ocean behind him like a painting. "Thank you for coming," he'd said. "Did I have a choice?" A slight smile. "Everyone has choices, Nurse Mthembu. You've made yours very clear." He'd poured tea for both of them. 3 times. "You refused me 3 times. Do you know what that means in my world?" "I'm sure you'll tell me." "It means you're either fearless, foolish, or genuinely honorable." "I need to know which." "Why does it matter?" "Because people who work for me need to be afraid or greedy." "You're neither. That makes you unpredictable." Thandi had leaned forward. "I don't work for you. Not yet. But you're in danger now. My enemies saw you with my mother. They think you matter to me." "Do I?" The pause stretched out, heavy with things unsaid. "Then, my mother speaks of you constantly. Says you have Ubuntu, that you see her as human, not just a patient. That makes you matter." He'd slid an envelope across the table. "Inside is a visa extension. 3 years guaranteed. Also, contact information for a hospital in Singapore. They need specialists with Bombay blood type. Your mother can receive treatment there. The operation she needs? Fully covered." Thandi's hand had trembled. Everything she needed. Everything she'd been desperately praying for. Right there in a white envelope. And in exchange? Your trust. Nothing more. Yet. You say that like trust is a small thing. In my world, it's everything. Thandi had stared at that envelope, feeling the weight of impossible choices. Her mother's surgery. Her visa. Her future. All of it within reach. All she had to do was take it. She'd stood up without touching the envelope. I saved your mother because she's a human being who needed help. Ubuntu. Not because I wanted anything from you. I know. That's why I'm offering. You don't offer, Mr. Han. You buy. You control. You own. Thandi had felt anger rising, hot and righteous. Back home in Durban, we have a saying, Gabantu. A person is a person through other people. But you? You make people into things. Into debts. Into possessions. I won't be owned. Tae-Sung's expression had hardened. Then you'll be hunted. Thandi had stopped at the door. Then don't protect me. I've survived Durban. I'll survive this. She'd walked out into the night feeling brave and stupid and absolutely terrified. Now, standing in the rain with scraped palms and a racing heart, Thandi realized Mrs. Han had been right. There was no walking away from this. The car that had nearly hit her wasn't an accident. It was a promise. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Han, "Come see me tomorrow. Please. There's something you need to know about your mother. It's urgent." Thandi's blood went cold. Her mother. What did they know about her mother? She started walking faster, suddenly aware of every shadow, every car, every person on the street. Incheon's lights blurred in the rain, and for the first time since moving to Korea, Thandi felt truly, bone-deep afraid. Behind her, she didn't see the black sedan making a U-turn. Didn't hear the engine revving again. Didn't notice until headlights flooded the street, bright and blinding and coming fast. This time, there was nowhere to dive. This time, the car was too close. Thandi turned, frozen, watching death approach at 60 kilometers per hour. Then another car, a white Mercedes, slammed into the sedan from the side, sending it spinning across the wet pavement. The crash was deafening. Metal screaming. Glass shattering. The sedan hit a lamppost and crumpled like paper. The Mercedes's door opened. Han Tae-Sung stepped out, not a hair out of place, and walked toward Thandi with the same cold expression he always wore. "Are you hurt?" His voice was calm, like he hadn't just deliberately crashed his car into another vehicle. Thandi couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Tae-Sung looked at the wrecked sedan, where men were crawling out, bloody and groaning. His bodyguards appeared from nowhere, surrounding the car. "I told you," Tae-Sung said quietly, still looking at Thandi. "I told you that you were being hunted. I told you that I couldn't protect you if you refused my help. You followed me," Thandi managed. "I've been following you since you left the restaurant. Did you think I'd let you walk away when my enemies know your face?" He stepped closer. "You saved my mother's life. I don't take that lightly. And I don't let the people who matter to my mother die in the street. I don't want to owe you. You already do." Tae-Sung's voice was steel wrapped in silk. "You gave my mother your blood. That created a debt. In my world, debts are paid. Always." Sirens wailed in the distance. Tae-Sung's men were dragging the attackers from the sedan, not gently. "You have a choice now," Tae-Sung said. "A real one. Accept my help and live. Or keep refusing and die. Those are the only options left." Thandi wanted to argue, wanted to maintain her pride, her independence, her Ubuntu. But she was cold and wet and her hands wouldn't stop shaking, and she just almost died twice in the same night. "My mother," she whispered. "Mrs. Han said there's something about my mother." Tae-Sung's expression shifted slightly. "Your mother collapsed yesterday. She's in Addington Hospital in Durban. Critical condition. She needs surgery immediately." The world tilted. "How do you know that?" "Because I had someone checking on her. Because I knew it would matter to you. Because I don't make offers I can't deliver on." He pulled out his phone, showed her a medical report. Her mother's name. Today's date. Words that blurred together through Thandi's tears. The hospital in Singapore is ready. They can have her transported tomorrow if you agree. The surgery she needs? They're the best in the world at it. She'll have a 85% survival rate instead of 30. Why? Thandi's voice broke. Why do you care? Because my mother asked me to take care of you. Because you have something rare in this world, genuine integrity. And because. He paused, something almost human crossing his face. Because people like you shouldn't have to break themselves to survive. You saved a life without asking for anything in return. Let me return the favor. Thandi looked at the wrecked car, at the bodyguards, at Tae-Sung standing in the rain looking at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. She thought about her mother lying in a hospital bed in Durban. She thought about Mrs. Han teaching her to fold dumplings. She thought about Ubuntu, about being a person through other people, about how we're all connected whether we like it or not. If I accept, she said slowly, what happens to me? You get your visa extension. You work where you want to work. Your mother gets her surgery. And you stay alive. Tae-Sung's voice was steady. I won't own you, Nurse Mthembu. But I will protect you. There's a difference. And if I still refuse? He looked at her for a long moment. Then I'll have someone escort you to the airport tonight and put you on a plane to Durban. You'll be safe there, at least. But your mother. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The sirens were closer now. Red and blue lights painting the wet street. Thandi closed her eyes. Saw her Gogo's face, heard her voice, when you save a life, you become connected forever. Ubuntu. She'd saved Mrs. Han because it was the right thing to do. Now Mrs. Han's son was trying to save her. Maybe owing someone wasn't always about chains and control. Maybe sometimes it was just, Ubuntu. People helping people. Connections that mattered. Okay, Thandi whispered. Okay. I accept. Something shifted in Tae-Sung's expression, relief, maybe, or satisfaction. He nodded once and made a phone call in rapid Korean. A car will take you home, he said. Tomorrow, my people will handle your visa paperwork. Your mother will be transported to Singapore tomorrow night. You can visit her there next week. Thank you, Thandi said, and the words felt strange in her mouth. Foreign but also right. Tae-Sung almost smiled. Thank me by staying alive, Nurse Mthembu. My mother would be very upset if something happened to you. As they loaded her into a clean car, not the crashed Mercedes, Thandi looked back to see Tae-Sung talking to police officers who were treating him with careful deference. He caught her looking and inclined his head slightly. In the car, her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number, welcome to the family. We'll talk soon. Mrs. Han. Thandi laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. Family. She'd come to Korea alone, desperate, invisible. Now she was connected to one of Incheon's most dangerous men through blood and debt and Ubuntu. Her Gogo would have either been proud or horrified. Maybe both. As the car drove through Incheon's rain-soaked streets, Thandi made a decision. She'd accept Tae-Sung's help. She'd save her mother. She'd stay alive. But she wouldn't forget who she was or where she came from. Ubuntu didn't mean losing yourself. It meant staying human even when the world tried to make you into something else. And if Han Tae-Sung thought protecting her meant owning her, he was about to learn what stubborn South African women were really made of. If you made it this far, you need to drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Will Thandi survive in Tae-Sung's world? Should she have refused his help? And what's going to happen when his enemies find out she accepted? Hit that subscribe button because trust me, this story is just beginning. So comment below, what happens next? And smash that like button if you believe some debts are worth paying. Until next time, remember, Ubuntu. We're all connected. Sometimes in ways we never expected.